All right. Well, I have 3 o'clock, so I can go ahead and get started. All right. Welcome, everyone. Empowering students through a newscast. And a bit of apologies for not having my students here with me. So the students, they created this and they thought that they were going to be the ones presenting. And then it came at 3 o'clock, and some of them are at baseball practice, have other things. And I don't know how the teacher shortage is working out in your area, but for me, I am driving a bus. We're so short bus drivers. And so I finished dropping off the students. And the reason why I have a tag here on my shirt is I'm at another school right after I finished the route, but I'm not completely done with my route. So I've got to get back on a bus and take it back to the shop after we get done presenting, because I don't normally get done driving till like 3:05. So I want to make sure I have plenty of time. So you're going to see some things. You're going to see students' pictures on here. Again, they were going to be presenting, but are not able to. All right. And there we go. All right. So the norms for the meeting are to be present and engaged, even at 3. Stay curious. Check into sessions, be considerate, and bring joy. All right, so I just want to let you know a little bit about myself and kind of how I got into this. I'm going to start by telling you something that I learned at a PD about 20 years ago. We always hear about, try to find what the students are passionate about, find what the students are passionate about and go with that. And a lot of times you don't know much about that area. And that's fine. If they're passionate about something, a lot of it, you just have to open the doors. So maybe you have some students that are passionate about newscasts and you don't know anything about it. It's okay. Just open the door, get them started, and they will run with it. But this is something that I am kind of passionate about, and I'm going to tell you the quick story of how it happened, just so that you kind of get a feel for, you never know the impact you're going to make, how small it is. So a guy came to our school when I was a senior in high school, and he talked at our school for 5 days. But I remember one of the things that he told us was he talked about changing your watches into compasses. And from that talk, me and a friend, we started thinking about, instead of going to college right away, to take a trip around the United States. So we did, and by the end of the trip, we had both been to 49 states right out of high school. But if you're going to go on a trip like that, you want to take a video recorder and record what you're doing. And if you're going to record it, then you want to be able to edit it. So I spent a week editing on an old VHS tape. And once iMac came out with iMovie, I learned how to edit on an iMovie. And because I learned how to edit on an iMovie, people thought that I knew a lot about computers, but I didn't know a lot about computers. I just knew how to edit video. And so when I was in the schools, I just kind of got pushed towards all this computer stuff, and I just, okay, I'll figure it out. And so now I've been teaching newscast and just been the IT person in the schools because of that trip that we took and all that kind of thing. So it's just kind of the way things go. All right. Nehemiah is an amazing student on camera. So at the beginning of the year, I had some videos that I wanted to do with the students to tell them how to take care of their Chromebooks. And my family kind of laughed at me how I was reading off of the teleprompter. And so I was like, Nehemiah, can you just do this for me? Because I can't read off this teleprompter. So she did it. It was an amazing job. And it was just good to see like how well she does in front of a camera. We also live here in Louisville, Kentucky. And the Muhammad Ali Center was going to take down a, like something that they had set up. They're going to take it down and it was never going to be able to be seen again. And so we took her in there with a 360 camera and we filmed her talking about it. And so people were able to experience the Muhammad Ali Center in 360. And it was good to see her there and on camera like that. Keely is one of those students that missed a lot of school the first year that she was in Newscast, but she's been there almost every day. So it's just good to see students grow that, you know, you didn't think that this was going to be their thing, but it does help them enjoy school more. Cody is affectionately known as our joke man. You'll see him throughout some of the videos that we do. And I always tell my students, you know, if you work hard, I might want to hire you one day. And so I've already started hiring him. I do some wedding videography on the side. And so I've paid him to come with me and film some weddings with me. So it's good to see my students do some of that kind of stuff. Xavier, when he was in 5th grade, he won like this national poetry contest for a poem that he wrote. And so he's just another one that is amazing on camera, and you give it to him, and it's just great to see them on camera. All right, so today, the objectives here, you'll get an idea on different equipment that we use. You will learn from others in the meeting. We will also discuss the process that we go through in working together to create the newscast and walk away with a new segment idea. One thing in the chat we were going to put here for you, though, is I see there's 25 people on here. How long have you guys been doing a newscast? How many of you have never done a newscast or are currently not doing one? How many a year or less? And how many more than a year? All right, so a lot of people maybe here to get something off the ground. All right, so there we go. All right, so most of you have never done one and we want to get one off the ground. So, all right, cool. That's good to know. As we go through, I'll kind of gear it a little bit more towards beginners and kind of how you get it off the ground, how we got ours off the ground. Yeah, and I started in elementary school where we kind of always did a little bit more. We never did them live, but they were close to live, where we kind of filmed it and then we might have had like 5 minutes to edit and we uploaded it. And when we started to do this newscast, it was definitely more. Now we just do it once a week. Elementary, we're doing it every day. And so the hard part that we had was, how do we get all those clips? You know, when you're just doing it live, you have one camera, one computer, and now we're looking at, okay, everybody's going to film different things. How do we put all that stuff on one? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in essence, though, Google Drive is kind of what helped us there with that. Once the pandemic hit and we were all in different places, we're like, well, Google Drive is the only thing, and we still use that to today. We're taking all of our video footage that they filmed, they put it in one folder for the week, and then whoever's editing will download that and then edit on that computer. So, all right. When I go to the next slide, that will begin our video. So this is just a sample newscast. I've kind of pulled out bits and pieces of a newscast so you can kind of see it here. So here we go.
Buenos días.
Para mutse. صباح وناكسن. أماكر. صباح الخير. Habari za asubuhi.
Good morning and welcome to the Newburg News. We are a diverse group of people working towards a common goal of every student being successful.
In 7th grade, the math students are learning about scale drawings. Basically, it's taking a real-life object and changing the size. Usually, that means scaling it down and making it small enough to draw on paper or hold in your hand.
Yes, like me. I'm just a smaller copy of the real Sean. Same person, different size.
Why do birds fly south in the winter? Because it is too far to walk. What do you call two witches that are sharing an apartment? Roommates. Who says, oh, oh, oh? Santa walking backwards.
Teacher versus student. Student.
I'm Nehemiah and I'm here with,
Tavion Gibson.
and I need you to name as many types of candy as you can in 15 seconds, okay? Ready, set, go.
Twix, Kit Kat, Snickers, Skittles, Jolly Ranchers, Hershey's, Kisses,
All right, that's time.
It's my favorite day. It might be your favorite day. If it is, say it with me. Ho, Friday. It's my favorite day, oh my. It's Friday. What? It's Friday. Woo!
bring you the news from
Tiger
Tech Team.
All right, so yeah, there was one of our samples. So when we talk about empowered learners, I just think mostly about that joke section that the students were doing. It started out with a joke, and then Xavier kind of got in there, and they wanted to do this whole thing where, Cody was telling the joke and Xavier wanted to appear different places, and like, no, that's not funny. And so it was just it was fun to see that grow. And so now we're starting to transition to the next year's sixth graders taking it on. And, part of me wants to be like, oh, you should do this. But it's like, no, that was Cody and Xavier's thing, and so kind of let the new sixth graders find their own thing, kind of give them the joke, give some ideas, but just let their creativity go. And you're going to see a whole bunch of amazing things. You saw, if you guys have iPads, you saw some keynote animation. So that Friday song was keynote animation. And there was one other keynote animation in there. But I love seeing students create things in Keynote. And yeah. All right, there's one more commercial that we did at the beginning of this year when we just talk about one of the things that we do in our class is we do different like real life projects. And the idea with some of that is how do we get the information out to the rest of the school? And so that's why I love a newscast is if we're working on a project and we need the whole school to know about it, a newscast is just a great way to get that information out. So here's a commercial that we created for the school.
Do you have a problem at home or here at school? That could be fixed by using a 3D printer or having a contest for teachers and students to see who can come up with the solutions to problems by using 3D printers.
And then she gave more details there and stuff like that. And the last person that was there, she rides my bus. And because of that interaction that we have, is what kind of got her into this class. And so for Christmas, I wanted to 3D print a 2-dimensional bus that we could make into a ornament for a Christmas tree. And I was going to give them to all the students on my bus. And so I asked if she could make a bus to create into an ornament. So 2 of my students created the bus. 1 student created an ornament, and she created this 3D bus that was amazing. Like the seats were in there, the buttons on the side, the steering wheel, gas pedal. It was amazing to see what she could do with that little challenge. there. All right. So organization, I talked a little bit about this, that we mostly use Google Drive for our organization. We try to start on Monday and finish by Thursday, or finish filming by Wednesday, and then Thursday is editing only, but every now and again we'll put a few clips in there. But if you ever get it or you have kind of too many students, it's always great to kind of break them up into 2 weeks. So you kind of have 1 week work on, kind of work for 2 weeks in advance, and then the other group start working for 2 weeks in advance. So you can kind of have one group for 1 week on, and then have the other group for a week on. And that helps them work on some of the deeper things. Because sometimes you're kind of sitting around and you're like, what are they working on? And then you start to help them and dive into some of this stuff. And some of it just takes a long time. Like there's one of these commercials that we took. It took us like 40 minutes to set up this 3-second clip. So sometimes it may not seem like they're working, but they are working, and it just takes a while to get it right as well. All right, so this is one of the things, this is kind of their list of how to make it go smoothly. And one of the things that's important is the audio, checking the audio before walking away. Sometimes they will have done a whole clip, they'll come back and the audio wasn't working. And if you have iPads, I guess I'll kind of show this to you now, if you guys can see it. If you have iPads, you'll have to have, it's called TRRS. So it's got 3 lines on the audio adapter, where sometimes you get something with only 2 lines. So like this one only has 2 lines, it's for a camera. So if you put it into an iPad and then you press record, it still records, but it just records out of the iPad. So sometimes you kind of think that you recorded out of the microphone when it just recorded straight out of the iPad. So I always kind of try to tell them, like, you got to talk right into the microphone and then talk into the iPad to see if they can tell. Because if it's just on the iPad, you may not be able to tell, but once you put the 2 together, audio definitely makes a difference. When you have a microphone next to just iPad sound, it's a big difference. All right. And yeah, so this, again, the students created this and wrote all these things down. And the main takeaway from here, so I'm not just reading the slide, is allow them to take ownership in the newscast. They wanted to do weather this year, but I try to stay away from like the pledge or lunch, what's for lunch, or the weather, because students don't really seem to be that interested in that. Where we want to see more students, like I always tell the kids, like no episode, no clip can be longer than a minute, and then try to get as many different students on the newscast as you can. Because if the students know they're on the newscast, or teachers know they're on the newscast, they're going to want to watch the newscast because they're on it. So try to get as many different people on there. And if you're just starting out, you might think, yeah, like let's do announcements. But if you need to start with announcements, start with announcements. But if you can do more things that highlight what students are doing in the school, the better it's going to be, and the more excited they're going to be to see themselves or something that they've done in class than just what's for lunch. Because if it can be an announcement, they can say it over the loudspeaker at school. So we don't have a lot of the same things that go on the loudspeaker. A lot of them are different. All right, so now if you're just started, you might be looking, you might wonder, where do I start? A lot of you do not have a newscast yet. So if there was one thing on this list that I would tell you to buy, obviously you need some kind of camera. So I would assume that most of you have at least one iPad in your school. or if you have your phone or something like that. We have this camera, the Sony camera. If you click on the link, it's linked to a 4K. They don't make the one that we have anymore. It's actually not my favorite. So I'm not telling you to get this one, because I like when you put in a memory card, it shows you all of the clips on the card, and this camera does not do this. You had to download additional software, all that kind of stuff. The Panasonic GH5S is my personal camera that I let the students use, and that's going to be more of a professional camera, but they learn a lot more things. But if you're just looking for entry, an iPad is a great entry level camera. So you have to have some sort of camera. And then out of these two things, the lights or the mics, I would go with this lavalier mic. And even though I personally love the Rode Wireless Go mics, so if you can see these, so here's two mics. There's a receiver part that you plug into the iPad or the camera, and then there's the receiver part that you put on the student. I love these things. They're amazing. I use them for weddings and different things like that. But the students, they really just love the lavalier mic. Like they're not ashamed that there's a cord going in there, or I mean, a lot of times you can't even see the cord, and it's just easier. Like you just plug one side into the iPad, you plug the other side, you just have the students hold it, or you'll see a picture, but we 3D printed like a mic holder kind of thing. And so we've got a little holder here on the back that holds this up. And so as they're talking, it looks like they're talking like the professionals do. And we put stickers on ours that say our name and that kind of thing like that. So, and then it's a way to hold where the lavalier mic goes instead of trying to like pin it on everybody when you're going back and forth between two people. You can use this to go back and forth instead of like try to pin this on somebody. So for $14, you can get a newscast up and going. Don't think that you need all these other things. The only thing here is like this cord that I was telling you, the 2 lines to the 3 lines. If you need an adapter, if you get the lavalier mic and you use an iPad, you might need the adapter. And it's just really short. It's about $10 as well. Okay. And then lights. We spent a lot of money on lights. And then I realized that we didn't need to spend quite that much because I guess you need to think about too, a lot of times when you first start out a newscast, you might start in a studio. Like everybody kind of thinks, oh, newscast needs to be in a studio. And we barely do any of our filming in a studio now. Most of our filming is in the hallway or in a classroom because we're trying to find what's going on in the classroom instead of just doing, you know, what's for lunch in the studio kind of thing. So get out in the school, have the students go out into the classrooms, out into the hallway, pull students out in the hallway, ask them different questions, and let people see themselves on the newscast. So you don't have to spend a lot on lights. The top one though, is like a movable light. It's a battery operated light, and they make cheaper battery operated lights too. But this one does different things with the like police lights and things like that. So the students had to like try to come up with a little video that involved the police lights because they wanted to be able to use them. So it helps with creativity. All right. And then, yeah, just think about where all you can get your stuff. So I know a lot of people go to Padcaster. You might have heard of them. They kind of send you like everything you need. And one thing I don't like about Padcaster, when you put your iPad in their case that they give you, it doesn't fit. You have to take off the case. And so to take off those cases and put them back on, it's just like you don't even get to use the Padcaster case. So we 3D printed a case that an iPad fits in, and then the 3D case will go into the part that goes to the tripod. So we saved a lot of money by being able to 3D print something that was there. This teleprompter, our school district has a place where they throw out all of their trash, junk, and people can kind of come around and see it. So I found 2 teleprompters, and they didn't work with the iPad the way they were set up. And so I worked on probably a month. I mean, I was kind of sitting in my closet for a month, and I was like, I don't know how to fix this to work with an iPad. And so at the end of last year, when students were doing all different things, I was like, I pulled a student aside and I said, you can take it apart however you can make it work for an iPad. And they were able to take it apart and put it back together in a way that works with an iPad. So now you can see we put the iPad down below, and we've got a camera behind it, and those are our lights there. So, and then over here on the side, over here on the side is, well, what I just showed you. Ours is red, but we put our little logos and things like that around it. Okay. Editing. So one of the things that we use with editing, when you saw like the timer on the teacher versus student, and you heard the buzzer sound, again, since newscasts are just filming in general is kind of a passion of mine, I paid for a subscription out of for Motion Array. You'll see that here on the next one. And Motion Array, it is a paid subscription, but once you pay for that, there's just so many things that you can download. And so sometimes I'm like, if you're just starting out, I might not do it. But it does help take your newscast to the next level. Sometimes I'm like, well, if you're just putting in a countdown, like a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, really cool countdown, the students really didn't create the countdown. So if you can have them create a countdown in Keynote, that would be great. But if you want to have some of the things, and the nice thing about once you pay for that subscription, it's all royalty free. So you don't have to worry about, copyright issues and all that kind of stuff. And we've been in some competitions that we've won, and it was really easy to take the links that they give you to be able to document where you got the music from and everything like that. So we mostly use iMovie and Final Cut Pro. The students, like if I'm not going to be there the next couple of days, Final Cut Pro is on my computer and they use it on my computer. But if I'm not going to be there, they'll edit themselves on CapCut. We do not use Premiere Pro, but I put it on there because Adobe Suite, a lot of professionals are going away from Adobe because of the cost. They charge you a monthly cost, and I never wanted to pay for it, and so I never did Adobe. But schools can buy Adobe, the whole Adobe Suite, for $4 for everything. And I think you might have to buy 20 licenses at one time, but just the Adobe PDF editor is worth $4. So if you want to get all your administrators Adobe PDF editor, and then you'll be able to get Premiere Pro and all those different things that go with Adobe. It's amazing what all they have. For $4, you can't beat it. TouchCast, if you do want the studio look, if you look right here, this picture right here is from TouchCast. And what I think is amazing, so they just put like a little green square here, a little square that you kind of green screen yourself in there. And if you look on the table, it even shows his reflection on the table. So I think that's amazing. I don't know how they do it. That he is it's just a square that you put yourself in, and it looks like you're in this $10,000 studio. And when I was at an elementary school, the last elementary school I was at, we would film in TouchCast the students would get there at 8:30 and we would film from 8:37 to like 8:45 to maybe 8:50. And then from 8:50 to 8:59, they would edit. And then at 9 o'clock, TouchCast gives you a link that you can send out. And so when school started at 9 o'clock, so in a half an hour, they filmed, edited, and sent it out. And there was many times I was not, hovering over a fifth grader, they were able to edit the whole thing on their own. So it's amazing what these students can do in these editing softwares. And then Green Screen by Do Ink. I don't pay for a lot of apps, but Green Screen by Do Ink is pretty amazing stuff that you can do with Green Screen, along with TouchCast, and even now iMovie, you can do some green screen in as well. All right, so I've been talking a lot. Now I'll let you guys share a little bit. What are some platforms and equipment that you use on campus, or what are you guys looking for? You can go ahead and use this Padlet and just kind of share with me what you guys,
Ryan, I dropped that in the chat, but we also have a couple of questions that I thought you might be able to respond to. Folks start navigating the Padlet.
Yes.
The first question that we have is, do you ever live stream a newscast? And if so, on what platform?
Yes, so we have not. And I had a feeling I was going to get that question. Let me see if I can find it here. So just the other week, well, probably about 2 months ago, our church was getting rid of their live stream software. And so I bought it from them and I spent hours trying to figure it out. And then I had somebody from our church come over and he showed me in like 10 minutes how to use it. And it seems pretty simple. And so I would like to start using that. And it's like $150 for a piece of hardware. You plug it into the internet, and then you can plug your computer in with one input. You can plug in 2 cameras. You can have 4 different inputs. So you could have a computer, 3 cameras, even a webcam there too, to do that. And I put it somewhere, the name of it. I can't find it right now. Why did I not? All right. Yeah, let me look for it here in a little bit.
Okay. We have a second question for you. This person named that they love all of your integration with 3D printing to fill your unique needs. And they're wondering, are your students in a class where they are learning to 3D print, and are they designing these items by themselves?
So yes, they're designing them by themselves with this. Sometimes I try to help them with coming up with some design options, but for the most part, they design it way better than I do. So I did not have a class. I was the VILS IT person. So my principal did not want me to have a class. And the more that I did, we have 1,000 students in our school, the more I'm like, I need some students. And so I went from just kind of handpicking some students out of classes. Like every couple of days, I just pull a few students out to help me with technology things. And then now this year, I have 3 classes of 8 students. So one class is helping me with the technology part. One class is helping me with 3D printing things. And one class is helping me with the newscast.
That's all the questions I've got. And just a reminder, folks, that you've got that Padlet link in the chat. So keep adding your what platforms and equipment you are using on your campuses before we move on to the next piece.
Okay. So I found, go into, oops, everyone. All right, it's Black Magic. And this is like the newest model, but if you find, again, you don't always have to have the newest thing if you're just starting out. So if you do buy this or you find an older one, message me and I'll be glad to help you get it going like we got ours going, like somebody helped me get ours going. Yes, I meant to stop sharing my screen just so that I can find that link, but I will begin sharing again. All right, back here. Oh yeah, Canva, like Canva for the templates and adding a final touch after editing in iMovie, adding an overlay or captions work well for me. So that's great. It's kind of like how we use our motion array. But yes, Canva, I think there's a lot more there than I know how to do. WeVideo has nice templates. Can't use the announcement template in the classroom version of WeVideo. Yes, with the diverse learners, the introduction, thanks for that. I really have been wanting to add sign language, and there's something about, you know, there's just background music that you keep thinking that you don't really realize that you hear it. And so I wanted to have the background music and then the background music stop, have the person sign so it's very silent, and then go back to music. And it's just one of those things we haven't done yet. All right. Oh yeah, Powtoon. All right. 3D printing resources. Tinkercad is the website that we use and some of the students, I mean, just in the 6 months they've been 3D printing, they're ready for something else. I'm not ready to teach them anything else. I don't know how to, but again, even though I don't know how to teach them something else in 3D printing, I just need to give them the option or the ability, and they will figure it out. I mean, when you can learn something on YouTube, we just can't hold them back from learning those things. All right. All right, are we there already? All right, so the next two slides are segment ideas. You know, that teacher versus student is one of our favorites, and we found it from another school. So I want you to take about 5 minutes. Well, we don't have 5 minutes, about 3 minutes to look at some of the links here. And just, yeah, there's this page and the next page. I've got a whole bunch of links of just different ideas that you can do. And if they have a link to them, they are, yeah, we've got some examples of what we've done in past newscasts. So go ahead and take a look at some of those links. We'll put 3 minutes on the clock.
Ryan, it sounds like there might be some links that require some additional permissions. In the chat, they're saying the tech tip link requires permission to access.
Okay, I thought I'd gone through all those. That means the students were linking them for me. So I had the students put them in a folder and link them, and their stuff cannot go outside. So I thought I made copies of everything. So I will try to fix that later. See if I can. Yeah, I'll have to do that later.
I believe that's 3 minutes.
That's 3 minutes, and announcements are going to come on at the school here really soon. Singing is one of my favorites. The kids, they don't like to do it. They think that it's cringy, is their words. But you might want to check that out. The HoloLens 2, if you guys have the Verizon Lab, that's something we finally just got the other day. It's pretty cool. We've got somebody jumping next to a hologram. So it's pretty cool. So we don't have time for the Padlet, but if there's any things in the comments as any segment that jumped out to you that you're like, oh, yeah, that's better than what's for lunch. You can either unmute or put it in chat. The AR segments. Yep. So again, take time to look at those. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We do have a little short survey that we put together for our project. Again, since the students put this presentation together, sorry that they couldn't make it here to film with you guys or to present to you guys. But it would be good for them to know how many people or where you guys are all from, so that when they present about helping people with their newscast, they can say that they help present to people in different states, that kind of thing.
Ryan, I'm happy to jump in
Okay.
and close us out. So I dropped a link in the chat for you to provide feedback directly to Ryan's students. You're going to have to update the permissions on that one, okay? I'll drop the link again in a moment. We also have an opportunity for you to get your certificate of completion for this session. So that link is also in the chat. So you've got feedback that's going directly back to those students, and you've got an opportunity to receive your certificate for completion. And then lastly, just as a little commercial, we do have our fireside chat on April 18th. That the topic will be artificial intelligence in education. We'd love for you to join us and participate in that conversation, which is open to all VILS community members. So make sure you give students their feedback. Make sure you provide your name and email to receive your certificate of completion for the session. And then don't forget about that fireside chat on artificial intelligence, on AI in education, coming up April 18th. Thank you all for your time today. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing your experiences and your students' experiences. Any last things you want to say before we close this out?
That's it.
All
Thanks.
right.
Thanks for being here.
Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.